Hi, I'm Johnny Havoc, and this is Rebecca.
Newt. It's Newt. Nobody calls me Rebecca except for my brother.
Okay, well, together we're Simple Tricks and Nonsense.
We're coming to you from the Creation Station, where we'll share with you our hobby of costume making.
In 1927, Fritz Lang unleashed onto the world a taste of a future yet to come with the film Metropolis. There is no need to go into a long description of the film or its impact in the decades since. But the one standout icon of the film was the robot. She's known by many names, but for our sake, we'll just call her the robot.
People are often curious about the costumes that we make. Here we will discuss the build and answer some of our most asked questions.
Some people have a bucket list of costumes that they'd like to make in their lifetime. Was this one of the costumes that you had on your bucket list?
Yeah, I think this was on both of our bucket lists, but we weren't sure when we would get the chance to make it.
Definitely. Well, the simple answer is it's made out of plastic. The more complicated answer is some parts are high-impact styrene, some parts are PVC sheet, other parts are made out of resin, there's a little bit of wood, there might be some craft foam as insulation. It's made from a lot of different things.
A lot of reasons. With vacuum forming, you get a lighter weight, you get more durability than you would using more commonly used materials.
So in this case, the torso has been vacuum formed, and that's one of the high impact styrene parts, as well as the tops of the feet, the calves, and the back of the head.
The body is the single biggest part, and so many other pieces rely on it being made first. Being as tiny as I am, I was able to use a mannequin torso to work from. So I sculpted all of the details onto the mannequin torso, and those two halves became my bucks for vacuum forming.
The other parts were made out of different materials. The biceps, the forearms, and the thighs are all one-offs, meaning that they were made individually, built around you, so that we didn't have to make a big form and then vacuum form it. So in the case of those guys, we just had you in place and we just made a paper template, put that around you, made our adjustments, and then transfer that to the plastic. And then once the plastic was set, we said, okay, well, you just mirror this image and left becomes right, or in some cases right becomes left, whatever you need it to be, and that's how those parts were made. But when it came to the head, we had to do something different. What took place for the head?
Yes, the head was sculpted from clay, then that was molded and cast in ultracal.
And the hope was that from the ultracal we could do what we did with the torso, and that's vacuum form it. But what happened?
Yeah, we lost a lot of the detail in the face when we tried to vacuum form it, so we had to remold it and then slosh cast it in resin. Well, if you look at any incarnation of the robot, whether it be statue, prop, fan-made, you'll notice that on all of them, the back looks different. And that's because in the movie, you never see the back from the shoulders down. So, and the fact that the robot was destroyed in the movie for the scene at the end.
So they only made one costume, right?
Yes, they only made one costume for the movie.
So then when it came up to that scene, it said, okay, well, this is her destruction.
They just destroyed it.
They just destroyed it. But prior to that, the scene where she's seated, they needed her seated.
Yeah,
that meant that it's like, okay, forget having any kind of back on her, because
people even think that there was no back at all. So nobody knows what it looks like. So we got to take artistic liberties on that. I've gotten, are you Ginger Bent C-3PO? Are you Ralph McQuarrie's concept art? I've even gotten, are you Star Wars?
Yeah, I've overheard in the distance, like, oh, look, there's C-3PO over there.
Yep. But the special thing is when people do know what it is, it's a special moment because it's so rare to see this costume.
And people lose their mind.
Yes, they're like, oh my God, it's Maria.
Well, I mean, think about that's part of the reason to make the costume was when you go to conventions, how often do you see stuff like this?
Those are the kind of costumes we like.
Yeah.
An appreciation for what it took them to make the costume. Definitely an appreciation for what Bridget Helm went through when she wore it and what Anthony Daniels went through for Star Wars.
What I took away from it was the challenge, just the pure challenge of how do you make this, or the various disciplines that need to be. There was no sewing in this. There was no sculpting and casting in latex or anything like that. No monster mask making, but there were definitely a lot of different procedures that needed to take place to make this happen. Remember that scene in Revenge of the Sith when Anakin's laying on the medical bed? And he looks up and the Vader mask is slowly descending over his face, coming closer, and his eyes widen, and he realizes that those eyes that he's looking through in that mask, that's how he's going to see the world? Is that what it's like?
That's exactly what it's like. It's sort of like that. It's very claustrophobic, it's hard to move around, it pinches in areas. I have to walk around in 4-inch tall geisha-like shoes, and all I have to see the world through are these tiny pinholes for eyes.
That sounds like a lot of fun. We should take all this stuff and get it on you and see what it takes to transform Newt into the Metropolis Robot.
I buy that for $1.
Why are you saying that, dork?
We can cut it.
We can cut it.